Noisy Pixel.
When I first caught a look at the Yu developed and published existential open world beat 'em up, I instantly thought of one of my favorite animes of all time, Yu Yu Hakusho. I can appreciate a good coming of age story, especially one with a well-rounded cast of characters. With that said, Yu's latest game not only perfectly captures the essence of Yu Yu Hakusho, but it's also an ambitious beat 'em up that follows the footsteps of classic arcade brawlers. I'm Brad Crespo and this is Noisy Pixel's review of The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa. The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa has players take on the role of a high school gang leader, Ringo Ishikawa, who's in his final year of high school. Rather than having dreams of going to college and all that jazz, Ringo is focused on becoming a high-ranking Yakuza member. His desire for doing this? Well, it's to show that he's the best of the best. It's with this goal in mind that players must manage Ringo's time, by doing stuff that high school kids do, of course. So you can expect to do things like talk to friends, study, play games, get into trouble, you know, the usual. While the open world nature of the game may make it seem like The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa doesn't have an in-depth story, that's definitely not the case, as the game surprisingly has such a thoughtfully told and heartfelt coming-of-age story, with well-written dialogue as well. There are a few text errors here and there, but overall it's well done. Throughout the story, players get to see Ringo and his relationship with his classmates and teachers progress, which actually reminded me of some of the moments in Yu Yu Hakusho. Without spoiling anything, character development is deep, and the player gets to truly have a connection with many of the game's characters. Aside from a great story, players will never have a dull moment when exploring the game's open world. The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa's world is bustling with life, with so much to see and do. Rather than forcing the player to do a certain quest, in true delinquent fashion, players have the option to do whatever they want to do. While there is a time limit to keep track of, I never felt that I had to rush from one thing to another. For some players, the lack of direction overall may be overwhelming, but anyone that plays the game will come to find that all of the activities are really enjoyable. It's easy to sink a ton of time into the game, and that's what will keep players coming back. The beat 'em up part of the game, however, isn't a knockout, but it works well enough. The combat system is, for the most part, solid, reminiscent of that of arcade beat 'em ups. But there are some deep systems where players can learn and upgrade their stats and moves. Fights are pretty challenging, especially when there's a whole gang of enemies around that can easily swoop in and knock you out without a problem. The game's combat difficulty is a plus for me, as it never felt cheap or unfair, but other players may find the combat portion of the game to be too difficult for their liking. What all players will like though is the game's finely detailed pixel art style. All the character designs are well done, and the whole world itself is full of little nice details. The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa is without a doubt a knockout beat 'em up game with a unique RPG and life sim twist. At first, it kinda feels like a sucker punch because everything is thrown at you at once when you're not ready for it. But just like high school, if you take a moment to figure everything out in The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa, you'll then be rewarded with a slew of fun and heartfelt moments. Whether you're a fan of beat 'em ups, life sims, or even just Yu Yu Hakusho, I highly recommend getting this game. Noisy Pixel is giving The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. You can read our full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is ran by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all of our future content.